Hello and welcome to session 2 of Yes, Even You Can Paint. Today we are going to paint on our beautiful canvas where we have laid down layer 1 and we are going to go to layer 2, which is where we're going to actually outline what we're going to draw, and that is going to be a heart. And then we will color in the outline and color in the background. So let's get started. On my palette today I have some black, which we will be doing the outline in. I have some blue and red and yellow, our primary colors, and I've also added a little bit of magenta, one of my favorite colors to work with, and this magenta and blue just make an absolutely beautiful purple. So what we're going to want to do is start with a semi-wet brush. We're going to put a little wet brush into the black paint. We want to make it just a little bit less thick so it'll paint a nice line easy. And then we're going to go to our canvas and we're going to just paint our heart. You can paint your heart however you want it. You can paint multiple hearts. I think I'm just going to kind of do a big heart. This is a really good time to watch your inner dialogue and see how you're talking to yourself. Being critical of how it's looking when you're starting to paint your outline, or if you're feeling stressed, just take a couple deep breaths and relax. You can always paint over what you've laid down. This is not a life or death situation here. I kind of like how that black ran down like that, so I'm just going to leave it because that's actually probably going to look pretty cool once it dries. I think I'm going to add just a couple little hearts up here. You can do this or not. This is all individualized, so whatever feels right to you and whatever you want to lay down on the canvas is certainly your prerogative. Yeah, I started to paint this and I'm not sure I'm going to want that there, but you know, we can always get rid of that in the long run. All right, so this is going to take just a minute to dry, and we do want to let this dry before we go in. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill in our inside part, and we're also going to add some paint to the background. Anytime you're adding paint to one part of the painting, you want to add paint to the other part of the paintings, just so you keep everything at the same paint level. All right, I'm going to pause this just for a minute and let this dry, and we'll be back. Okay, welcome back. So I have cleaned my brush so the black isn't all over it. And I think I'm going to start with a little bit of a purple. It's one of my favorite colors. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the blue with this magenta. Like I said, it just makes a lovely purple. And I'm just going to start painting. So we're going to get the inside of the heart here. And really this is whatever feels good to you. So call it intuitive painting. You know, I kind of just, whatever comes to my mind, that's what I generally will do. And I'm also kind of about the pretty colors. And I really like this purple. Mix a little bit more there. I'm already out. Sometimes, like right there, that's kind of cool. I like to go over that a little bit lighter, so that'll still shine through. The nice thing about this layering, this is what makes things interesting, is we can allow things from the previous layers to kind of peek through to add depth and interest and color and texture and all that fun stuff. Now on this part, we're just focusing on getting some color on the canvas again. In the next video, the third video, is when we're really going to come in and start, you know, doing little designs and adding neat colors here and there and making things real interesting. And I'm just just using a cheap old brush. I bought a whole bunch of cheap old brushes on Amazon. You don't need anything fancy to do this. You don't need fancy paint. Like I said in the beginning, you don't even need a canvas. I mean, you could do this on a piece of cardboard if you wanted to. Ooh, I like that. Nice bright red. That'll stand out lovely. I'm not going to clean my brush, and I'm going to go in here with the yellow. So what's going to happen is this is going to end up kind of a yellowy orange because those two are going to mix together, which I like. I really like the salmon color that can come out of making orange with red and yellow. And then I see I have a little heart here, and I actually want to fill that in. I kind of want to just add that to my little painting here. I have it peeking out from behind this other little heart. I think that's kind of cool. Okay, and now that we've added paint to these little areas, we need to get some paint into these other areas just so the canvas is all at the same level of paint. And here, I think what I'd like to do is I'm going to kind of just go around the canvas, and I'm going to add color here and there, but not probably the same color to the whole background, just for added interest. And again here, if there's something like cool in the background, there's almost another little heart right there. I might add some color to that. You can go lightly over it. Like I'm going to kind of let this white poke through. I like the way that looks right there. Now, as your brush gets drier and has less paint, you see it's laying less paint down, but sometimes I kind of like that. It gives it, you know, a little bit of a faded look. A little bit more right here. Get that kind of a little bit darker. Some blue up here. Now obviously I've got a little red on my paintbrush, so what's going to happen is some of this is going to end up being a little purpley, which is fine. I like how that yellow's poking through in the back too. See how that gives it some nice depth and character. Sometimes what I'll do too is I'll go back and I'll just get a little bit of water on my paintbrush and come back in there, because what that does is it loosens the paint up a little bit, and then you actually can spread that paint out just a little bit more without having to add more paint to your paintbrush. And we don't need this to be a super necessarily thick layer. We just want to get some color down on the canvas. Get our second layer defined. Go some yellow over here. And again, I'm not cleaning my paintbrush in between. So what ends up happening is we end up with some you know, unique colors in there, but I like that. I like to have the variety. And obviously yellow without any white in it does not cover as well as some of the darker colors, but kind of like that too. It just allows some of that previous layer to poke through. Now this isn't a stretch canvas. This is just a normal piece of canvas. A stretch canvas is actually has a side on it that sometimes, you know, it depends on what depth you buy, but they can be, you know, from a 1/4 inch to an inch, 2 inches. And when I'm painting a canvas that has sides on it, a stretch canvas, I always paint the sides too. On these, the side is not really there. And this type of canvas generally would need to be put in a frame if you want to hang it on the wall. Not necessarily always, but it might look better, whereas the stretch canvases can be hung directly on your wall without a frame, which is kind of nice. I like that. Now, I know I sound like a broken record because I keep repeating this, but there is no wrong or right way to do this. This is all about what feels good to you, what you want to do in the moment, what looks good to you. You know, you look at your canvas and you think, oh, I want to put that color there. I love that color. And if it ends up being something you don't like, well, then you just paint over it in another session. It is so not a big deal. Nothing to stress out about. All right, and then I always kind of like to stand back and get a little bit broader perspective and maybe come in with some more color here and there. I think I'm gonna add a little blue right here. Get that outline a little more defined there. I don't like how that's too much white showing through there. I want to get a little bit more paint on that. I think I want to add a little green down into here. So I've still got a little yellow and blue on my palette here, so I'm just going to mix that. And I'm going to actually just try to kind of get this covered up a little bit, because I don't necessarily want that poking through in the final layer. So as you can see, there's really no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of coming in and adding color when I look at it, where I would think, oh, well, that might look good to put a little, I like that there's a little swirly right there, and I'm going to kind of define that a little bit. I guess I'm going to end up going over that because I just did. That's okay too. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we're good. So that is layer 2, where we have defined what we are going to paint. We've outlined it, and then we have colored it in, and we've filled in the background to add a complete second layer to our painting. In our next session, we will be coming back and we will be making this all interesting. We will tackle each part of the canvas and kind of address it, you know, each part and what we want to do with it and how to make it interesting. Thank you for joining me for session 2, and I hope you have a fabulous day.